Hello, everybody, and welcome to my webinar, whatever you want to call it, how to age-proof your body. This is one of the most important topics. It's one of my favorite topics. We're hearing so much nowadays about, the longevity hacking and all these different things that we hear about. But really, the truth is, and the science holds, that there are certain things that are evidence-based that are very, very important for you to age-proof your body. And I'm super excited to share this with you in this training today. So very quickly, a little bit about me, for those of you who are new to me. I am Sophie, and I'm so passionate about this topic. I am a New York Times bestselling author. I'm an internationally recognized speaker on health and wellness. I've written 4 books. I am a board certified nutritionist, weight management specialist. We're going to be talking a little bit about that today. And I'm a transformational mindset coach. So putting all those things together makes me really passionate about being able to help women to really age-proof their bodies, add another 14 years to their lifespan at the very minimum. And we're talking adding life to their years, not just years to their life. So this is how we are going to go today. I've got a lot that I want to go through, so no big long introduction. This is a 60-minute session. And what we're going to do, I'm going to ask you not to raise your hand right now. And I'm going to ask you to hold your comments in the chat right now as well, because we're going to get to this at the end. So what I want to do is we're going to go 60 minutes. At the 45-minute mark, I am going to open for Q&A. So what I recommend that you do is hold your chat, hold your questions, hold your raised hands, hold all of that until the 45-minute mark, when I'm going to open up. So you will probably have questions as we go along, because I'm going to be going through things quite quickly. What I recommend that you do is grab a pen and a notepad and write down, stack your questions. I already have some questions ahead of time that have been, that I put in the private Facebook group, but make sure that you have your questions ready, okay? Because I just don't want to interrupt my flow. I want to keep on going and make sure that you get the really important pieces that you need. So without further ado, really big welcome to you. You're doing yourself the biggest favor ever to come on and give yourself this time, dedicate this time to something that there is nothing that is more important than your health, age-proofing your body, adding years to your life. Is there nothing more important? So well done for signing up for this, for coming here. Be present, take a breath, try and turn off your distractions, such as your phone. If you're not listening on your phone, shut the door. Give this time to you. All right, that's the biggest favor that you can do for yourself. Let's dive in. So we're talking about longevity. Yes, but the thing is with longevity is we don't want longevity just for the sake of longevity. Who wants to live to 100 if you're on you're in a nursing home, or you're a burden to those you love, or your quality of life is absolutely terrible? So we're not so much talking about longevity. We're talking about health span, basically, not lifespan. So really, you can't talk about longevity without talking about disease-proofing your body, because that's really what we're talking about, isn't it? Certainly over the age of 40, and most definitely over the age of 50, that's when the diseases, the chronic diseases, can start setting in. And they don't show, unfortunately, until long after they've really taken hold. So what I'm all about, and those of you who work with me and know me well and have been following me for years, an ounce of prevention is all about prevention. What can you do now to prevent and even reverse? Now, and the definition of healthy aging is the process of developing and maintaining the functional ability that enables well-being in older age. I'll repeat that one more time. The process of developing because you may not have it right now, and then maintaining functional ability. So your body as a whole, your entire holistic system, it's functioning. It's functioning, it's firing on all cylinders. So that will enable you to feel well, really well in old age. That's what we're talking about. Now, as I've already said, think about health span instead of lifespan. We really want to think into the future. That needs to be top of mind. And what I want you to do is to take off your short-term goggles and think long-term. Think of the long-term gains instead of the short-term results. We live in a society where everything is quick. TikTok, memes and quick Instagram stories and, these sort of fixes for whatever it is, top foods for inflammation or cortisol or fixed belly fat or whatever else it is. And it's all sort of quick, but it's not a quick fix. There's nothing that is a quick fix. My clients that have amazing results, and some of you may be on this live webinar today, is it takes commitment and it takes hard work, but it's the most valuable work that you'll ever do in your life. So what you really want to do is take off like, oh, I want to, I need to get well quickly, or I need to lose weight for this event that's coming up, or I need this to happen quickly. I want you to think about yourself, the 80, 90-year-old version of you. How do you want to be? With my clients, we call it your future self, your future dream self. Who is your future dream self? Who do you want to be? How do you want to be showing up for life in your 80s and in your 90s? That is what we're talking about. And if you start thinking about that now and taking actions toward that right now, you're paving the way for this future of your choosing. Now, Band-Aids don't work, as I've already said. Supplements, cheat sheets, quick tips, bone broth. I picked out some of the things that I see about aging. Bone broth, collagen creams, exercise equipment, pills, weight loss injections. We're seeing all of that business now, the Ozempic and the Wegovy, and even, sometimes in desperation when we're thinking, well, age proofing, it's my skin. My skin's looking terrible. I'm getting all these wrinkles or, parts of my body that I don't like. And then we go looking for what I call the Band-Aids. Oh, I'm going to buy a new skincare cream. Oh, I'm going to do this collagen supplement. But they're Band-Aids, right? They're not treating the root cause of the problem. In the moment when you order it or you believe whatever the marketing is, you might feel good for a hot second. Oh, that's going to work. I hope it is. But, hopium isn't a good strategy either. All right, so we're going to be talking about brain health, body health, biome health, your microbiome, and inflammation, which is so important because, of course, inflammation is very often the root cause of so many of the chronic diseases that we dread. And this is very specific for women over 45, 50, because when your hormones change, when you're in perimenopause, when you're in menopause and beyond, so generally the women that I'm speaking to are 45 and older, but when you get into that age bracket, your body changes, your hormones change, obviously they do, and everything starts to change. And that's when you really do need to start paying attention, because that's the exact time that you can sort of nip it in the bud before some of these things take hold that become very, very inconvenient and unpleasant. It could do if you leave them. So let's talk about brain. Now, brain health is so important, isn't it? Because those of you who, I don't know if anybody who's watching knows anybody in your family, friend group, whatever, who has cognitive decline, early stages of dementia, or God forbid, Alzheimer's. My father had Alzheimer's in the last few years of his life, and it was absolutely devastating. And many of the clients that I work with are looking after elderly parents right now as we speak, who either have dementia or Alzheimer's. It is devastating, for not only obviously for the patient, but for everybody, for the entire family. Devastating. And that's why I'm starting with brain, because brain health is we have to have That, we have no quality of life without that. So let's get straight to it. Foods that are bad for your brain. And everything that I lay down for you ladies who are listening, and those of you who are clients of mine, this, everything is rooted in evidence-based nutritional science, the latest data that we have to date, because there is so much misinformation and disinformation on the internet that I feel responsible, and you deserve to know the truth about the science, the actual science, when it comes to literally saving your life, saving your brain in this case. So foods that are bad for your brain, deleterious to your brain health, saturated fats, it is now absolutely conclusive, unequivocal: saturated fats, fried foods, all meat, most fish, dairy, eggs, and diet that's very high in sodium. Unfortunately, what you're looking at there is the standard American diet. That is the SAD diet. And a little particular point I want to make here is saturated fats are found primarily, saturated fats are in everything, but they're primarily found in meat, a lot of fish, which you wouldn't even think, sort of things like salmon has a lot of saturated fat and cholesterol in it, and dairy. And those are the main concentrated sources of saturated fats. And very interesting that these ketogenic diets that so many are doing in their desperate attempt to lose weight, can you imagine? It's the very thing that you need to avoid what you might be eating to protect your brain. Okay, so this is so important, my friends. Now, hang on a second. Let's just see what's going on here. There we go. Actually, I need to go back a slide. Okay, so those are the foods that are bad for your brain. Now, alcohol. So alcohol, there's no way, there's no good amount of alcohol. And this is particularly true for a woman who is over the age of 50. We metabolize alcohol really, really differently when we get into our 50s and beyond. So alcohol is a neurotoxin that can directly damage brain cells, especially the connections between neurons. It can also negatively affect the microbiome. It also puts you at higher risk for breast cancer. And we'll get to that when I start talking about breast health in a moment. So alcohol, not a good idea. Now, the other thing that you want to avoid for your brain health to prevent cognitive decline, dementia, and Alzheimer's is AGEs. AGEs stands for advanced glycation end products. And how do we consume AGEs? What we want to avoid? Well, we're going to find AGEs in dairy products, very concentrated, including cheese, cream cheese, and butter. In very, very fatty foods, again, would be those, cheese, cream cheese, etc., especially the fats that are solid at room temperature, including oils, nuts, and seeds. And so going back to the last slide, saturated fats are the fats that are solid at room temperature. So that would be, your lard, your sort of meat fats, but also there are other saturated fats such as coconut oil, which is not a healthy oil to consume because it's very high in saturated fat. Avoiding AGEs, meat, including beef, turkey, pork, chicken, lamb, and certain fish. And broiled or grilled meats and fish are the absolute worst for these advanced glycation end products. They actually, they are produced, these advanced glycation end products, in the cooking at high temperatures of meats and fish, fatty foods. Of course, they're in processed foods and ultra-processed foods and saturated fats. Okay. So now let's get to the good news. So foods that are good for your brain, for brain health. Leafy greens, lots of dark leafy greens, berries, mushrooms. Oh my gosh, one of my favorites. Cruciferous veggies, soy, beets, seeds and nuts, beans and legumes, oats, turmeric, green tea, and an algal supplement. That's really important. So you want to make sure that you're getting those foods into your diet, I don't know, every other day, at least 3 times a week. Super, super important. Remember, as we go, if you have questions, write them down and we'll get to those in the Q&A. Fantastic. All right. So the MIND study, famous study, huge study, the MIND study, 53% reduction in risk for Alzheimer's, emphasized this study natural plant foods, specifically berries, the healthiest fruits, and greens, the healthiest vegetables, while significantly limiting the intake of animal and high saturated foods like meat and dairy. And the MIND study showed they really looked into if it was possible to reduce risk for Alzheimer's and by how much. Well, 53%? Don't you want that for you and for your family? I certainly do. All right. So now the brain shrinks as the waist expands. So new data shows that those who are overweight, meaning that you would have a BMI above 25 or above, between 25 and 29.9, have a third of a higher risk of dementia. Those who are obese, so a BMI of 30 or above, have a 90% higher risk of dementia. 90, not 10, not 20, but 90. And a review demonstrated that those who are overweight and obese actually have brain shrinkage, which is correlated with lower executive function. So that shows us, which is very worrying, with 43% of Americans now obese and 37% of Americans are now overweight. And over 50% of Americans now have pre-diabetes, which all those go together. That is affecting your brain. Make no mistake. Okay. So eating these beautiful foods, that you can get from a whole food plant-based diet are going to go a really, really long way. Food is medicine. And you're going to hear me saying this over and over and over. Food is medicine. When you think that you can prevent these diseases without taking medications to do so, pretty stunning stuff. All right, let's move on to exercise when it comes to brain health. So a new study shows that 6,000 to 9,800 steps a day, let's round it off and call it 10,000 steps a day, can reduce risk of Alzheimer's by 67%. So can you see how we're stacking this together now? Can you see how and why I'm so passionate about this? That we go for a whole food plant-based diet and we're like, okay, box checked, done that. I'm being responsible. I'm into prevention now. Okay, fantastic. That's done. Now I'm going to do my exercise, right? 10,000 steps a day, reduce the risk of Alzheimer's by 67%. Another new NIH study just published in the journal Nature, which is the most prestigious journal in the world, showed that the magic number of steps for weight maintenance is 8,200 steps per day, and bump that up to 11,000 steps a day if your BMI is 25 or more. So again, what I'm all about, and again, those of you who know me and work with me, we're not just going, oh, we'll do a little bit and try and reduce our risk just a little bit. Why not do it completely? Why not avoid? Why not prevent this misery that sadly has become the norm? All right. So the other thing that's really interesting is numerous studies have shown that those who have a purpose in life, I call it a pill, don't need a pill, right? Those who have a purpose in life lead longer and enjoy good health into old age. The pursuit of meaning, and this is what I work on so much with my clients, is way more important than the pursuit of happiness. We go over happiness, we chase pleasure, and there are so many pleasure traps all around us. I'm chasing that. Well, you want to chase meaning. You want to look into what gives your life meaning. This is really deep inner work that I do with my clients. And you've probably heard of the blue zones now. Many of you might have seen the Netflix series, Live to 100, and you will notice that in all of those blue zones, this runs all the way through, all the threads that I'm going through with you today, actually, but I go through it in a lot more detail. They run through all of the blue zones. And this one, having a meaning, a deep meaning in life, is so, so important. So, have you got a purpose in life that has you jumping out of bed every day with excitement and vitality? Honestly, do you? Do you wake up in the morning and go, yes, yes, I've got a purpose. My life has meaning and I have a purpose. And the jumping out of bed with vitality would obviously be if you're feeling great in your body, sans aches and pains and everything else. And of course, I can teach you how to do that. But, you know, having that meaning is, you know, is very, very important. So homework for you to go away with after this webinar is journal for 5 minutes on this prompt. Write this prompt down right now. What makes my heart sing? Write it down. It's called a journal prompt. And then what you're going to get to do is to set a timer and write either later on today or tomorrow. Give yourself time, make yourself a cup of tea. What makes my heart sing? You know, this is what we really go, we lean into this so deeply with the women that I help and I coach. What makes my heart sing? Because so many of us have lost connection to that. We've been so busy taking care of everybody else. We're exhausted taking care of elderly parents with Alzheimer's and dementia, taking care of, you know, needy young adult children. We're working 10, maybe 12 hours a day. There's a lot going on. So we lose it. We lose that connection of why we're here in this relatively short life. So that's your homework. What makes my heart sing? Also, what you might want to do is create, again, this is something I have my clients do, is create an action board, not necessarily a vision board, but an actual action board for 2023, 24. How many days have we got left of this year? Not many. I think it's like 97 days or something like that. So you can start it now. Don't wait to the new year, new you resolutions. Start everything now. Today is the time that you can start, and you can start building an action board. Not so much, oh, this is a vision that just stays on the wall and I don't do anything about it and it's nice pictures. No, it has to have action and purpose and life and drive to it. And that's so important. Okay, and then you can meditate on it. Whatever you do, whether you pray, meditate, contemplation, having a practice every single day. Again, this is something that I coach on all the time. Creating a routine, creating a morning routine. It doesn't have to be half an hour. It can be 5 minutes. It can be 10 minutes where you're connecting to what really matters, what's really going to make a difference, not only to your purpose and your meaning in life, but what is going to make the biggest difference. All right, moving along and keeping a good eye on the time, because I want to make sure that we've got plenty of time for Q&A. Now, your body. So we talked about your brain. I want to talk about your body now. Your body, you only get one in this lifetime. You get one brain, one skeletal system. You get one body to take you through, your vessel, your vehicle to carry you through until your last breath. So how are you taking care of it? Because you best take care of it, because you rely on it for absolutely everything. So let's talk about your heart, and the reason why I'm going to heart first in this section on your body is because heart disease, heart attacks are the number one killer for men and women in America. But very much so, that even goes up, the risk goes up significantly for women in menopause. So after the age of 50, that your risk raises quite considerably. So here's what I want to get to. Now, this is really interesting. And I was actually at the doctor yesterday. I had my annual physical and I had my blood work read. And it was really interesting because you're going to hear your doctor say, or you can read or whatever, is what is normal. Oh, your labs are normal, your cholesterol's normal, your these markers and that markers are normal. But here's the thing about normal. Normal isn't optimal. Now, if normal is for a very high percentage of women to have a heart attack, if normal is to have atherosclerosis and furred up arteries and plaque, that's normal. Unfortunately, that is normal. It's becoming normal to be pre-diabetic. It's becoming normal to have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. It's becoming normal to have all of these diseases now. It's so sad. So I really want you to get this in your head that normal is not optimal. Do not settle for normal. And a really good example is normal cholesterol. So I hear women all the time saying, oh, I went to my doctor. I say, well, how are your cholesterol? Oh, my doctor said everything's good. It's normal. When we get into it and I look at their labs, and I see that their LDL cholesterol, which now new studies have shown is the only number that really is relevant. It used to be thought that the balance of good and bad cholesterol was significant. No, you need to look at just the bad cholesterol. And women tell me what that number is. And I'm just absolutely stunned that their doctor has said that that's normal. Well, if you, as I said, if you want normal, like, going towards, heart disease, well, great. But I don't advise that. So you want to get your LDL as low as you possibly can. You want to get optimal is 50 or 60. Right? Generally speaking, I will say to most of my clients, let's shoot for 100 or below. But some of my clients who I've been working with for 2 or 3 years now, they're really close to that number. They're really close to 50 or 60. So am I, as witnessed in my labs that I did yesterday. It should be for me. Got to practice what I preach here. And triglycerides as well. It's not just cholesterol. So really don't settle for normal, because maybe your doctor doesn't really understand what's possible, and most doctors do not. My doctor certainly didn't. He's a brilliant doctor, but when he saw my lab results, he was just like, I can't, because I'm 59, and you don't see that. He doesn't see that in 59-year-old women. Now, loving your heart. So here's what you need to avoid. Again, notice there's a theme with all these foods: saturated fat, refined carbs, obviously, sugar, obviously, fried foods, sodium. No rocket science here. No, like, oh my gosh, really? But again, I think the thing that you're going to see throughout this webinar is saturated fat. It just cannot, there's no good place for saturated fat. The presidential advisory of the American Heart Association concluded as a rebuttal to all this ridiculous, like, butter's good for you, bacon's good for you, and all of these clickbait lines that, pulled out of very flimsy science, but they run on the front of Time magazine and on the front because it's what people want to hear, and it sells magazines and it sells books and it gets ratings up, but it's just not true. So the presidential committee said, no, everybody, and this is the Heart Association, everybody should significantly minimize saturated fat as much as they possibly can. So what you want to include, and this is to love your heart, is greens and beans, lots of beans. Interesting that beans, and I'm also just going to throw in fruits here because fruits can be really healthy. I read something yesterday. My husband showed me something yesterday and he said, oh, have you heard this thing about these fruits that can decimate your gut? He's great because he brings me all these kind of CNN kind of clickbait headlines to kind of, pull apart. And I'm like, oh, not him again, not that guy again. He will remain nameless, but there's somebody who has a huge marketing engine who's always going on about these foods that are decimating you and terrible for you and everything else. And one of them was certain fruits, but not going to get into that now, only to say that beans and fruits are the two foods that are the longest predictors of health span. So berries, hibiscus tea can be really, really good for your heart for bringing high blood pressure down. Hibiscus tea, beautiful ruby red tea. So think you can make that correlation between blood, red, tea, pressure down. Citrus, tomatoes, cooked tomatoes are even better than raw tomatoes because when you cook tomatoes, it releases lipokine or lipocene, which has so many benefits for your heart and preventing cancer as well. Beets, you're going to hear me talking a lot about beets. Beets are very, very healthy. Turmeric, walnuts, and ginger. All right, moving on. We're moving on to breast health now because, again, age proofing your body is disease proofing your body. And, we started with brain, right? Then we went to your heart, and now we're going to breast health, which would probably be the second killer of women over 50 in America after heart disease. So for breast health, you want to make sure that you avoid alcohol. Didn't I say I was coming back to that? So just 2 glasses of units of alcohol. I was going to say glasses of wine, but let's just go with that because I think a lot of people think, oh, I just drink wine and it's very benign. But just 2 glasses of wine a day can increase your risk of breast cancer by 40%, 40%. And particularly again in women who are in menopause and beyond. Meat and dairy. This is something to do with, it's called IGF-1, and it is the insulin growth factor 1. And so that's why many of the breast surgeons and breast oncologists who I confer with and who have mentored me are very, very against eating meat and dairy because of this growth factor and how it affects tumors. Stress, obviously, is a really big deal when it comes to breast health, and xenoestrogens. And xenoestrogens are these, they're endocrine disruptors. So they are in our environment, they are everywhere, xenoestrogens. It means foreign estrogen. It's an chemical estrogenic compound, synthetic, that your body cannot sort of recognizes as being an estrogen, but cannot process in the same way. In layman's terms, it messes up your signaling, your natural hormone signaling. And this is so important for a woman who is postmenopausal. Now, these xenoestrogens can be found they're sort of everywhere in anything. If you think chemicals, cleaning products, perfumes, that are synthetic perfumes, chemicals that are in your skincare products. But let's not ignore probably the main way that they can get into your body is through eating, through consumption. And you eat your xenoestrogens. Think about it. Pesticides, fertilizers, they're chemicals, they're xenoestrogens, and the hormones that are injected into animals that you eat. And I will say that even labeling, hormone free or without the grown or produced without the use of hormones, that labeling, little bit, when you pull back the veil, as I have done behind that, is a little bit flimsy, that not really to be trusted. Okay, so what you want to include for breast health is flaxseed, lots of it, organic soy. Soy is a huge topic. And when I work with my clients, we really get into that because a lot of you watching, you might be very scared about soy. There's a lot of misinformation and disinformation, unfortunately, on the internet about soy. It's confusing because it's a phytoestrogen, which is entirely different from the estrogen in your body. So there's a lot of misinformation and people think, oh, I can't have soy. And it's just not true. Actually, it's super, super important to protect you and to protect reoccurrence as a lot of data of breast cancer. So that's really, really important. All right. We have got fruits, organic veggies, beans and legumes, cruciferous veggies, whole intact grains. Oh my gosh, yes, grains. Again, another thing that so many of you are told to avoid, right? Oh my gosh, these intact, I shouldn't be eating grains and fruits and soy and things like that. And it really is absolute nonsense. And when I say use the word nonsense, I really am using that very intentionally, that word. It doesn't make sense when we see the scientific literature to date. All right. So these foods for most of you are going to be really important. Obviously, there's a lot of nuance there because, if you're celiac, if you have certain conditions and whatnot, we have to sort of get into that and work with you. Spices and green tea. All right, physical balance and injury prevention. Again, very important. And don't be thinking, it hasn't got to that yet for me. We look at people, maybe, my mother is 85. And, a lot of us have got elderly parents and we think, we see them their balance goes a little bit, and that we're terrified that they're going to have a fall. Well, now is the time, depending on how old you are watching this, whether you're in your 40s, actually, is when you really need to start. Minimum 40s. If you're like, oh, I haven't really done it now, I've got to start. Yes, start now. Because every single thing that you do for your body's functionality, we call it functional training with the women that I work with, is so important. Every single day, your balance is absolutely everything. Your balance and strength and integrity of your connective tissues and your joints. Everything that you do now will pay so many dividends in years to come. Yes, balance is absolutely imperative. And balance is something that you can get better with age. Interestingly, even if right now you're like, oh, I have terrible balance, the good news is you can actually increase balance by doing certain exercises well, not necessarily that. That's a pretty extreme exercise, but just really simple balancing exercises, super, super simple. I give my clients very, very, very simple balancing exercises to do, and the key is to do it every single day, because then you literally grow neurons in your brain, and it's also to do with your hearing as well. Balance, there's so much functionality that comes into play with balance, so that's really, really important. All right, moving along. Let's now talk about your microbiome. And you've probably heard a lot about the microbiome. It's the new kind of conversation du jour. And actually, it is really the future of medicine, of lifestyle medicine, of dealing with the root causes of inflammation, leaky gut, and so many other issues. So it's very, very important. Now, I want to talk about something that I go on a lot about, because it's really important, and I really want you to understand this, and please write it down. It's something called short-chain fatty acids. And the reason why short-chain fatty acids are so important, and now even more important, because in the last couple of years, where as a weight management specialist, I've seen all of the, everybody, or not everybody, but a lot of people doing the weight loss, injections, which basically you do those injections to regulate appetite or take your appetite away. But then, of course, the minute you stop taking them, then your appetite's going to come back. So it's a short-term solution at best. But here's the thing. You can regulate your appetite naturally by creating short-chain fatty acids in your gut. Now, short-chain fatty acids, what are they? They're metabolites that are produced by the bacteria in your large intestine by the fermentation of dietary fiber, right? Which basically escapes digestion, is insoluble fiber. And so, to put this really simply and clearly, what is absolutely heartbreaking about all the low carb, high protein diets is that you're removing these fibers, these plant-based fibers that are going to give you everything that you want, which is your short-chain fatty acids. Because when you don't have that insoluble fiber and soluble fiber, and you're not eating that a lot, like 3 times a day, and I'm not talking about a fiber supplement, I'm talking about actually ingesting it, then you literally cannot and will not produce short-chain fatty acids, or enough of them to make a difference. Now, when you do produce enough of them, you are going to lose weight. That is the key to weight loss. It is the key to weight maintenance, for maintaining. Clients that I've worked with maintain their beautiful, ideal weight for years, right? Without the use of any drugs or injections or shortcuts or extreme dieting or anything like that, or even restricting calories at all. Appetite regulation. Yes, you can regulate your appetite without taking drugs. Happiness, they actually make you happier. They have an effect on your brain. They affect inflammation. And actually now, latest research shows that short-chain fatty acids can actually help to heal the lining of your gut. For those of you who have leaky gut, a lot of bloating, a lot of digestive issues, short-chain fatty acids are imperative for immunity, immune function, and enhances your skin barrier. It actually affects your skin. So short-chain fatty acids, eating a diet full of foods that are going to create these metabolites is absolutely imperative for age-proofing your body and for releasing weight. Okay, stress, obviously, stress can cause inflammation, weight gain, belly fat, weakened immunity, degradation of collagen in the skin, make you depressed, poor gut health. There's no getting away with it with stress. You know, you can do all these other things. That's why everything that I do is holistic, right? It's all, you can't just go, well, I'm going to get my food dialed in and my exercise, but I'm bombarded with all this toxic stress and negative thoughts and negative feelings and negative self-talk, which is chronic stress, you know, all from the moment I wake up until when I go to bed at night. Well, then everything else is going to break down, unfortunately. So dealing with stress and dealing with the mindset associated with really being able to manage your stress in a very powerful and beautiful, you know, beautiful way, actually, which is what my clients do, is imperative. One other little thing about stress here is stress directly relates to belly fat. So stress, chronic stress, releases sugar, more sugar in the bloodstream, free floating sugar, and this is stored as belly fat. And it's a vicious cycle because belly fat creates inflammation, and then inflammation creates even more belly fat. So it's super, super important that you take a breath. So how to add 14 years to your life. And this is, I'm not just pulling that number out of anywhere. You can actually add 14 years to your life and add life to those extra 14 years. Can you imagine having an extra 14 years to be with your children, your nieces, your nephews, to travel the world, to do things that you want to do? Can you imagine? So to do this, changing your diet, reducing stress, increasing exercise, detoxing your liver, healing your gut, having a purpose in life, and having an ideal body mass index, BMI. Now, as I already said, 43% of American women are over 60. It's actually younger now. It's over 50 are obese. And metabolism is not the cause. That is a myth. It's not, oh, my metabolism has slowed down. No. It slows down a tiny bit after 60, but certainly after 40, it doesn't slow down at all. That's what the data shows us, right? So what is the cause? Cellular aging, inflammation, declining physical function, declining cognitive function, type 2 diabetes, cancer, heart disease. All of these are on the table for you if you are not in that healthy, the healthy BMI. So the ideal BMI, write this down, you probably know this for health, is at the lower end of this scale. And the scale is 18.5. And this is numerous meta-analysis of numerous studies and data that have been looked at. 18.5 to 24. The ideal, optimal, remember we talked about optimal a little bit earlier, is to be on the lower end of that scale. Okay, if you're more toward the upper end of the scale, you may be putting yourself at higher risk of pre-diabetes, diabetes, heart disease, and several cancers. Visceral fat is the worst kind of fat. It's the dangerous fat. Subcutaneous is the layer of fat that is sort of sits almost on top. You can see it on your arms, maybe your legs, it's on top. But visceral fat is insidious because it sort of grows. And again, unfortunately, it is more prevalent for women after menopause. But the good news is, and this is the really good news, is when you lose it, you'll see significant improvements. When you lose, which is entirely possible to do, to lose 20 to 30 pounds of visceral fat in a very short amount of time, which is what my clients do. And they see without restricting calories, without eliminating carbs. Okay, and if there's any of my clients on today, you can get, I can't see the chat right now, but you know that to be true because you don't do that. But when you lose it, you'll see improvements in insulin sensitivity, really important, inflammation, blood pressure, cholesterol, and triglycerides. Okay, you can do it with food instead of drugs. So why is it so hard for women to stay consistent with their wellness goals? Now, the reason why is having studied neuroscience as it relates to behavioral change for over 20 years, I understand that we're not wired to lose weight or to do most of what I've told you to do today, or most of what I've recommended. We're just not, our brains aren't wired evolutionary wise to do that. We're not wired to lose weight, to expend energy, and to do anything that's uncomfortable. That's why most of us need support, a lot of support. We need accountability. We need a mentor or a coach. Most of us do. It's really hard to go on your own, because not only have you got your environment that's pulling you down, we live in a society of so much sort of temptation and bad news and misinformation. That's that environment around us that is just not going to help you. And so having the support and an enormous amount of accountability, which I think most of us need, and to have somebody to really dial things in for you. Because here's the thing with the women that I work with is no two women are the same. And so with everything that I've gone over today, and I've gone over quite the broad strokes of things, but within that, there are so many nuances. Some women have more issues with digestive issues. Some women are type 2 diabetic. Some women have extreme food sensitivities. So there's so much nuance that needs to be dealt with, and you need to be treated as a whole. Somebody listening to and understanding what your conditions are, your physiology, your psychology, your lifestyle. Because if it doesn't align, if all of these changes that you want to make don't align with you, your biology, your life, and you, if it doesn't align, then eventually it's going to go sideways, right? So it's really important, and that nearly always really does necessitate some help. Remember, a goal, you might go, okay, I've got a goal now, I'm going to prevent disease, I'm going to age-proof my body, Sophie, that's what I'm going to do. But a goal without a plan is just a wish. And I hear this all the time as a coach, as a transformational mindset coach. The words that I hear, not with clients who are working with me, because we don't do this, but it's like, oh, I really hope I want to do that. I'm going to do it. I'm going to try to do it. I hope to do it. I will do it. We don't use those words because it basically means that you're not going to, right? You need to have a goal. It needs to have fire, passion, purpose, drive behind it. And you definitely need to have a plan in place. You need to have support, right? And support is having the support of a community, having the support of somebody who really gets you, knows you, who can hold your hand and take you all the way through. And often that's emotional help. The biggest help that most of the people that I work with need is mindset help. That's the piece, because if you don't get help with really shifting your mindset, everything downstream of your mindset will be affected, and eventually you're going to fall off the wagon or not do it. It's just, unfortunately, that's what happens. And community is so important, having that help, and then having a community of kind of like-minded warriors who are all doing the same thing, because you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time around. You are the average. So if you're around people who are unwell, not very healthy, overweight, negative, doom and gloom, energy vampires, then you will become that. That's almost like, oh, well, that's normal. That's the norm. So shift away from that. Realize I don't have to have that. That's not the norm. And it's absolutely imperative that you find a community, you find your people. And I think it's super important that you get help. So if any of you watching, we're going to open for Q&A now. But before we do, if anybody watching feels stuck, if you're like, Sophie, oh my gosh, this is so much, and I've got this, but I just don't quite know, how I'm going to dial all this in. And I need help. I really need some help. I'm losing it here. I've been trying to do this and lose weight for years, and everything that I'm doing isn't working. Then here's my gift to you. You can book a free breakthrough session with me. It is free. And you can do this. And I've opened up some spots over the next 4 days, actually, for you watching this webinar. And they will go super, super quickly. So just get to it, because once they're gone, they're gone. It's with me. There's only one of me. And so if you want to grab one of these free sessions, you want to go to sophieuliano.com/apply. Write it down now. sophieuliano.com/apply. And for those of you watching the replay, we'll also send you a little email and you'll have that link in there. Now, on this call, what we're going to do, I call it a breakthrough session. We're going to get on Zoom together, and we're going to take a look at what's not working for you right now, where you're stuck, most importantly, what you want, the outcome that you really want more than anything else. If I think that I can help you, and only if I think that I can help you, because I can't help everybody. We're not always a good fit. But if I think I can and you're a good fit, then I'll show you how. And if not, either way, you're still going to leave this call with massive clarity and value. So it's a really big opportunity for you to have that. If you decide to book a breakthrough call and you manage to get a slot with me, the only thing I ask is that you try and give me 24 hours notice if you need to reschedule or cancel, because it's just fair for everybody else, because not everybody's going to get a spot because they go so quickly. So please, do that. And when you apply, you'll be taken to a very short questionnaire. You'll fill that out, then you'll be taken to my calendar. But really think about it. Think about the time. And on the call, we're going to get on Zoom. I want you to be in a quiet spot so we can really do some deep work together. All right. So with that being said, we are now going to go to Q&A. So I am going to open up and I'm just going to have a little look here, and I'm going to see what we have got going on here. The breast graphic, Melissa. Okay, so let me know if you have any questions. And if not, I am going to go with some of the questions. Great, we've got a question here, Elizabeth M. And do pop your questions in. And I've got some questions that I sourced from the private Facebook group, and I am going to hit those. And they're really important. You'll learn a lot from listening to these questions. We only have, we've got 9 minutes, so I'm going to get through these really, really quickly. So Elizabeth, major surgery 2 weeks ago, never do prescription drugs. They had me on a bunch, which I'm weaning off now. What advice for you to have building up my microbiome? A great question, Elizabeth. What you want to do is, it says answer live. Answer live. Press that, answer live. Not quite sure about it. Hopefully you can hear me, Elizabeth. So what you want to do, my love, is obviously, if you've been on a lot of those drugs, you're going to need to take a really good probiotic. That's super, super important. And honestly, my love, just start doing what I've laid down here. Start eating, lots of really delicious, you want to be on a whole food, plant-based diet. That's going to be the most important thing. Almost all of the foods that we've gone over today, the berries, the greens, think of now having lots of, if you're still feeling a little bit delicate, lots of really good hearty soups and broths, pre-blend things, because maybe your digestion is a little bit off. And if you pre-blend by making soups, it's going to help you to digest. Specific probiotic. There's a few that I recommend to my clients, but there's a brand called Seed, which is a good one, but it's difficult to recommend probiotics without really understanding what some of your other issues are, because it's very dependent on you and your biology. Red light therapy. I like red light therapy. This is Katie's question. I actually like it a lot. Red light therapy can be fantastic for injuries. For if you have an injury, inflammation. And there is some data to show that red light therapy can improve collagen in the skin. But honestly, Katie, I think it's more important that you do the heavy lifting and really get into the, doing everything that I've gone over today. Deal with your nutrition. Get that dialed in. Deal with your exercise. Get that dialed in. Deal with your stress. Get that dialed in. No amount of all of these, cold plunge and red light and collagen and all those things are good. They're not the heavy lifting. Great, lovely. Some of it is fluff. Some of it works. Some of it doesn't. But get the heavy lifting dialed in. All right. Now, questions I got before. I got a question. What is the optimal LDL? And I've already gone over that, which is optimal would be around 50 to 60. But if you can I want you to shoot for definitely under 100. This is for your bad cholesterol. Write this down, everybody, your LDL. Oh, somebody asked about what's the ideal waist circumference, because that's obviously very, very important. As I explained, an expanding waistline, it correlates to your brain shrinking, would be definitely under 35 inches, but way, way under that. Somebody asked us a question. Oh, would I recommend that you go 100% plant-based or 80-20? And my answer is, it depends what you want. It depends what your goal is. If you can do, you can definitely do better by going 60%, 70%, something like that. But is it going to take you to your target? And this is such an important question. I think Sarah sent that question in. It's so important, Sarah, because if your goal is to significantly reduce for instance, your LDL cholesterol levels significantly, let's say it's 130 right now, and you want to get it to 70, right? You're going to need to be dropping that. Here's my bad math here, like a good 60 points. So in order to do that, then you want to go all in. So when women go, do I need to be all in? It depends. Do you want kind of like that sort of result, or do you want optimal result? It's really a question back at you. How long does it take? This was Penny. How long does it take to see results? When you change your diet and your exercise? It's really quick. In the clients that I work with, within 90 days, they see dramatic results. One of my lovely clients, I don't think she's on today, Christine, I can't see because I can't see who's in the participants, but she and many clients of mine, at the 6 to 8 week mark of working with me, inflammation dialed down to such a degree that when they were in pain in their joints and arthritis and knees and everything else, gone. So they can do and enjoy the necessary exercise. In terms of nutrition, you can bring your LDL down. I have clients who have dropped their LDL 70, 80 points within 12 weeks. That's how long. But you've got to do it right. You've got to know how to do it and how to dial it in. Another question. Susie, why is keto so bad? I think, Susie, you've probably seen a lot of my messaging. Well, keto is just like we've gone over it in this training today. A keto diet is saturated fat. That's what it is, isn't it? Eat lots of meat, eat lots of basically saturated fat. And saturated fat, I don't care whether it's meat, dairy, coconut oil, whatever it is, it's going to put you at higher risk for Alzheimer's, dementia, heart disease, and everything that we've gone on for. So that, and even honestly with weight loss, most of the weight loss, initial weight loss in keto diet is going to be water weight. And also you're going to lose lean muscle mass. And talking about body functionality, you don't want to lose lean muscle mass. It's the last thing you want to lose. When we're over 50, we start getting sarcopenia, where we do lose that beautiful lean muscle mass. We want lean, strong, beautiful muscles to grow. So again, not a good idea for keto. And even for blood sugar control, because initially you can go, oh, my blood sugars are better, but it's not dealing with the root cause. You want to think long term, and there's a bounce back effect. The root cause is to really deal with a lipotoxicity, which is your liver and muscle cells being gummed up with fat so that it can't take the sugar out of your blood. Whole nother topic, probably need to do another thing on that. Okay, we're almost out of time. I've got 2 minutes left. I'm going to get to these last questions. What is an algal supplement, Lee? An algal supplement is algae or algae oil, as opposed to a fish oil. Much better that you go for an algae supplement than a fish oil. That's what I recommend. There's problems with fish oils, even supposedly okay ones. You take out the middleman if you go to the algae, because the algae or the algae is what the fish eat in order to get the EPA and DHA, and you need adequate amounts of EPA and DHA, not just for brain function, but for all your cell membranes and for many other physiological processes. Somebody else asked about lectins and anti-nutrients. Thank you. You'll hear me talking. This is Thomasina. You'll hear me talking a lot about that. It is absolutely ridiculous and nonsense. Again, there's sort of big marketing engine of the foods, the health foods that are making you ill and everything. You know, lectins, you're only going to have dangerous toxic lectins if you eat foods like uncooked beans, completely raw beans. You know, if you cook your beans properly, if you cook your food properly, then you're going to be absolutely fine. And not only that, but lectins are actually super important for your health. They can be preventative against many different cancers. They're immune modulators. So you actually need lectins. So don't avoid them. Okay. And the last question here is, well, there's two more. I'll quickly get to these. Is why do I lose and then gain everything back? And there's the $1 million question. This is Kate. So it's because you lose. You know, whatever diet you do, you're going to lose a little bit of weight, right? It's not, you know, obviously you're taking out all the processed foods, the junk foods, the this, that, the other, and you're kind of, I'm on a diet, right? But then, you know, if it's something that's extreme, like calorie counting, you know, really restrictive, weighing food, oh my gosh, I can't believe that that's even a thing. But if it's something like that, or really extreme keto, or something that's difficult for you to do, then you're not going to stay. It's not a lifestyle, is it? It's just a diet. So you're going to be on it, and then then you're off it. And when you're off it, well, you gain all the weight back again. So that's why you go on and off. So what you really need is a lifestyle. You need to develop a beautiful lifestyle where you make changes, which is what I do with my clients, that are ordinarily quite hard to do, and habits that are sometimes could be, in many cases, very hard to do. And we make them very easy. I show my clients how to make them ridiculously easy. So that's what we do. And the final question here from Maria is, what if I'm pre-diabetic? Well, if you're pre-diabetic, the great news is that you can reverse that so easily. If you're type 2 diabetic, you can reverse it. But if you're pre-diabetic, you can absolutely reverse that. And it's not hard to do. And you can reverse it in a very short amount of time. And I highly recommend that you do. Because if you're insulin insensitive, and if you're pre-diabetic, I think it's 2 out of every 3 women that are pre-diabetic will become full-blown type 2 diabetic within a year. That's a statistic. And once you're type 2, then we are talking about medications, and we're talking about complications and medications that may or may not work. And then eventually we're going into, you know, a nasty phase of your life that you don't want to be in. So now is the time, Maria, to deal with that pre-diabetes and take the necessary steps to get out. You can, all of you, and I'll finish on this, you can prevent years of inconvenience, doctors' offices, medications, misery, worry. You can prevent all of that by taking action now, and really making some of these changes now. So if you're somebody who's struggling and you need help with that, and you think, well, all very well and good, Sophie, but I'm not sure I can do this on my own, I hope you can, and I wish you well. But if you really feel you need help and you're stuck and you're really struggling, then go ahead and try and grab one of those few sessions that I've made available I've actually opened up my calendar this weekend, especially for you. So this is just for women on this webinar. So again, make sure that you go to sophieuliano.com/apply. And what I will do is I will actually drop in. Oh, Lisa. Oh, thank you, Lisa. Oh, I love that, Lisa. Bob. Oh my God. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you. Oh, lovely ladies coming on. Okay, I'm going to do one quick thing now. I'm seeing you all here. It's lovely to see you. And what I'm actually going to do right now is I'm just going to grab this link. I think I can do this. Maybe here. Oh, wait a minute. Have I lost you? No, I was going to grab in the link and put it in there for you that you could just click on to book a call. But don't worry, you've got it. You know the link. You know how to get there, and we'll email it to you anyway. So no sweat. Oh, have a fantastic day. Stay young and vital in spirit, and know that you can prevent everything that you want to prevent. I always say, look, there are no guarantees, are there, in life? There's no guarantees that this and this and this isn't going to happen, but at least we can stack the cards in our favor, and make deposits into our wellness bank account for a rainy day. And that's what I'm all about. All right. Lovely to meet all of you newbies to me, and sending you much, much love.